Hey, how's it going? I'm Martin, and I'm here today to talk to you about the law of attraction. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe not. Probably though, if you found this video, you've probably been researching about it. I first heard of it from a really amazing book called The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. I highly recommend that book. I am in no way affiliated with any of these books that I'm recommending to you. You just go check them out. Listen to the audiobook if you're too busy to read like I am. But the law of attraction, basically what it is it's, as crazy as this is going to sound, it's been proven by string theory science to be true. The law of attraction is called a law because it's true, just like the law of gravity or the law of, what is it? The one where you have for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. I forget who that was. Please leave it in the comments below and tell me how much of an idiot I am for not remembering. But anyway, the law of attraction is basically the whole idea that whatever you consistently focus on and think about, you will manifest in real life. And it's kind of, it's very, what's the word? Like people fight about it a lot. It's controversial because many people believe that it's the easy way to cop out and be like, oh, I'm just gonna believe that I can achieve something and then it will happen to me. In the book, The Success Principles by Jack Canfield, he talks about how not only do you need to believe in something and constantly focus on it, but you also need to take action steps towards it. And that's how my belief is. Now, the law of attraction, what it is essentially as you focus on things with your mind and you picture them in your mind and you think about it and feel, you basically want to use all five of your senses. And I like to say the sixth sense is emotion. So how would whatever your goal is or whatever you want to manifest in your life, how would that feel emotionally? What would it look like? What would it taste like if it's a food or has a flavor? What would it smell like? What would you hear? What would you feel? The more that you can bring your senses in when you're imagining what you want to attract into your life in your head, the more that you can imagine that, the more likely you are to actually manifest it. The cool thing is, if you read the book, if you read the book, The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, she talks about people who have very specifically envisioned in their head a certain feather, for instance, with very specific markings on it. And they imagined it and thought about it, felt it the way they would feel in their hands, and 2 days later, the feather somehow fell down on the ground in front of this guy as he was walking to work, and he picked it up and it was the exact feather that he had imagined in his head. Now that sounds crazy, but string theory has proven that it's possible because the way that atoms and strings, these little things that vibrate in the universe, just interact with one another. So essentially thought, you think that thought is a non-physical thing, but it actually is a physical thing. It's electrical impulses that can be measured with scanners. So that means that because it's an actual reality-based thing, that it can create waves in the universe that go out and somehow attract things back. There was some really cool studies done with people where they essentially had someone go to some completely other country on like the other side of the entire world, and they did a test where they had a scientist at set intervals during the day would imagine certain letters or certain cards, with like different symbols on them. He would look at them and think about it, and then think about the person in that other country. And pretty much every time that they did the experiment, there was astoundingly an 80% accuracy rate. They even did it once with someone who was in outer space. They tested it, and he got 80% of the symbols or the words accurate, or the numbers, whatever it was. I don't remember. You can definitely Google it. But basically what that's shown is that the law of attraction has an 80% success rate, which is really cool. And I've experienced it myself. For instance, this might sound crazy, but pretty much most of the time when I walk home to my apartment, I hate it because I always have to wait for the elevator a long time. And I walk around the corner and none of the 4 elevators are there, and I'm sitting for at least 2 minutes, which isn't a very long time, but when you're just sitting there waiting, 2 minutes can be annoying. Now, since I learned about the law of attraction, I always imagine when I'm walking around the corner that the elevator will be right there and then I'll walk in, okay? And I envision it, and the important thing is that you also have to believe it. So there's 3 steps that Rhonda Byrne talks about in that book, The Secret. 1 is imagine and envision, 2 is ask and believe, and then 3 is receive, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Please, again, leave comments below if my information is inaccurate. But anyway, essentially it comes down to 2 main things or 3 main things. 1 is really imagining and envisioning and experiencing it in your mind. 2 is believing that it's actually going to happen. And then 3 is show or feel the gratitude that it already happened. And you want to think oh, I'm so thankful that this happened, okay? It's really weird when you first started, right? Honestly, it's like how do I do this? And you have this sense of I don't want to be disappointed, right? So why am I going to do it? Just start with small stuff, like random things. Envision, again, I was at my cousin-in-law's house, and I went outside and I wanted to play basketball, but they hadn't played basketball in 10 years because he hasn't been living at home. So I didn't want to ask them for a basketball, so instead I first imagined having a basketball in my hand or finding one. I imagined it and I felt the basketball and really imagine shooting it and playing around, and just to then imagine the idea of finding the basketball. The second thing I did was I believed that I would find it. I was I know for a fact that I'm going to get this basketball. And then the third thing was I felt so happy. I'm thank you that I have this basketball. And then I walked, and 30 seconds later, I found a basketball randomly. It was an old basketball, but it was still pumped. And it was a little bit dirty, but it was so random that I would find a basketball there. Okay, now to get back to the elevator story, I'm walking into my apartment and I never get the elevator. So one day I'm just screw it, I'm going to believe that I'm going to get the elevator. So I envision myself walking in and it being there. I believe that it would actually be there. And then I felt thankful that it was there. And what do you know? The elevator literally opened up right when I did it. Now I do that every single night, and I will say with pretty much 100% certainty that the elevator's there at least 80 to 85% of the time. It opens up right when I arrive because I always imagine that it will. It's really, really cool. Now you might be saying, well, that's just luck, and fine, whatever. But it works with my team too, my photography studio. Okay, we have some people who are challenging to work with, okay? That's just a given in life. When you're doing headshots of people, there's gonna be people who are gonna hate pictures of themselves and be challenging to deal with. And we would get these people very, very frequently. Now we started using the law of attraction, and we're constantly believing in our mind that the client is going to be awesome and the best person ever, and that they'll leave tips for the team members and stuff. And that happens 80% of the time. We get really awesome clients who leave people tips. And it's really, really cool. Okay? I'm serious when I say that the law of attraction actually works. It's totally crazy, but I want you to think about it from this perspective, okay? Think about this. Your mind, your entire experience of life, where does that come from? It comes from you, right? You're watching this video right now. You've never experienced life from anyone else's perspective. So how do you know that anybody else even exists? how do you know? Like, this is crazy, right? But how do you know that other people aren't just figments of your imagination? Have you seen The Matrix, right? You don't know. There's no proof of that. You can't possibly prove it there's no way. That being said, that would lead to the question of, how can you prove that the law of attraction doesn't exist? How do you know? Maybe everything is in your mind, and if you just believe that something's going to happen and you envision it, because everything is like in your mind, it just happens. You know, and it sounds crazy, but that's like what my belief is at this point, that there's no proof that anything exists. It could all just be me. And there's no proof that the law of attraction isn't real. In fact, there's more proof that it is. Okay, so just test it out. I mean, I envisioned a lot of different things. I envisioned finding a matchbook that would have like some sort of squiggly symbol on it. Unfortunately, I wasn't very clear with the symbol in my mind, but I envisioned it, and then a couple of days later, what do you know? A matchbook turns up in a drawer with a really like squiggly symbol on it, and I was like, wow, that's crazy, you know? I mean, it's not about just, you know, it's not about just imagining something and then taking certain actions to make it happen. It's like literally when you imagine something and see it really clearly in your mind, it will happen. Now, as Jack Canfield says in his book, The Success Principles, envisioning something in your mind and having it start to manifest in your life doesn't mean it's going to necessarily physically manifest itself immediately, okay? What it does mean is that you might suddenly start getting unconscious moments of inspiration or other crazy ideas or something that's like, you know what? I really feel like I should call this person who I haven't talked to in a long time. And you just suddenly get this feeling a couple days later after trying to do the law of attraction thing in your head. You suddenly get this inspiration to call someone. And if you don't follow that, then the law of attraction won't work. But if you do follow it and call them, who knows? They might have the answer or the solution to whatever you're looking for. It's really weird how it works. It's very, very difficult, but somehow the universe is able to align things that happen. And it can go back as far as the Bible. You know, they talk about believing in things, and then they come into your reality and your existence. I highly encourage you to look up a lot more about this, but to bring it back very simply again, if you want to use it, just pick something really simple right now. I don't know what it would be. Excuse me, maybe ice cream or something, you know? Imagine in your head that you're eating something. Actually, let's make it something healthy, you know? Pick something, or you can make it unhealthy if you want, or cookies. Go see my put that cookie down video. But imagine something really clearly in your head, the specific flavor of ice cream or whatever, and imagine yourself eating it, tasting it, the feeling, and then think about it like, I believe that I'm going to have this very soon, and then be grateful for having it, and then see what happens, see how soon it shows up. You never know, but suddenly what you've done is you've put something unconscious in your mind, and again, whether it's the law of attraction working fully by itself, or it's a combination of that and what is the part in your brain? The reticular activating system, it's called. And that is the part of the brain that searches real life for everything that can validate what your belief is. The reticular activating system will suddenly be set on high alert for this ice cream, and you're going to immediately notice it somewhere. Now, some people might say, well, that's all the law of attraction is. I don't believe that when the elevators are coming down constantly 80% of the time for me now. But try it out with something really simple. You'll see how it works. You can start using it, and then you can start using it to apply towards bigger goals and other things that you want to move towards in your life. So, as always, I really hope that you found this video helpful for you. If you want more really cool random tips and tricks and things that I've learned, please subscribe below. And leave me a comment. You know, I'm always open to both positive feedback and negative feedback. I know that there's some people out there who really hate the law of attraction or don't believe in it. Please leave your comments below. I'm going to try to respond. Otherwise, besides all that, don't leave here without living with purpose.